Welcome, classmates! Today is the third episode of our infotainment series for the Philippine Guild of Watercolorists. This is your host, Emmanuel Silva, again for Water and Technicolor, where we provide you with all the information and setup skills to better up your skills in painting watercolor. And for today's topic, we're gonna explore about the information or about the particular side note when it comes to painting watercolor with regards to our brushes and the amount of paint we load into our brushes. You know, it could be one of those things that we are not aware of when we are painting watercolor. Say, the amount of paint or the wetness of paper that we charge in our brush and put it in your wet piece. On the surface of the paper. For today, we're gonna explore on that matter on the topic so that we could have a better understanding of this particular information or this particular area. And I guess this will be very important for those who want to paint wet into wet as well, and for some editing techniques, because this one could be valuable for those who have been new to watercolor painting. And of course, even the veterans might have known or might have been doing this particular thing without being aware of it. So guys, I want you to stay around, get those paper, paints and brushes, and let's explore this particular topic on this episode of your Water and Technicolor.
Welcome. In today's lesson, we are going to understand the loading of the brush and how it relates to the wetness or the surface wetness of the paper when we are applying our painting. For now, and in this lesson, we will need a flat brush or a wide brush that we can use to apply a wash of color. We also need an ultramarine color, such that from Daniel Smith or M. Graham. Putting the paint on a separate mixing well, we add water and melt it. And by stirring with our brush and diluting the paint, we will be able to produce a color that we can use to make a wash in our paper. In the next step, we are going to rinse or paint the whole paper with a wash, starting from the top going to the bottom. We do this one by applying a stroke of paint beginning from the top and continuously, or applying successive strokes, each one beneath the first one and overlapping about halfway through the initial layers of stroke. And we will finish this one by covering the entire surface of the paper. We can tilt the board where we have attached the paper sideways, rocking it gently back and forth so that by the action of gravity, we will be able to blend or diffuse the paint more in the surface. The next step involves applying paint using a round brush, and we will do this one by wetting the brush, a mop brush, and saturating it with paint. As you can witness, applying a saturated brush with paint releases the pigment from the tuft of the brush towards the wet surface of the paper. This happens because there is more paint from the brush than the wet surface of the paper. Next, we are going to wet and clean the brush and then rinse it thoroughly from the paint and water. As you can witness with your eyes, the paint from the surface of the paper is picked up by the moist brush. This happens because there is more paint and moisture from the surface of the paper than the one that is in the brush. This method of doing watercolor is called lifting. In the last step, we are going to rinse and clean the brush from the paint. We are now going to load this brush with water and apply it directly on the surface of the paper. The resulting effect causes the paper, with the pigments that is settling on its surface, to be disturbed and pushed away by the water that is introduced from the brush. This sweeps out the pigment and creates a line which causes some cauliflower looking marks when dried. Finally, we can see that when the paper is dried, different effects could be achieved by simply charging more paint with the brush, lifting paint from the surface of the paper, and charging more water to the surface of a wet paper. I hope you found this lesson valuable and informative.
Alright, isn't that interesting? I never knew that loading your paint in the brush and having it dry could have different effects that we can achieve. Interesting, isn't it? Well, for the first 3 lessons, that was really an awesome topic. I mean, yeah, we can apply them in our painting and of course enhance our outcome with regards to watercolor. Now, because we have those things and we've been practicing on those particular techniques, I know our next episode will become much more exciting. Well, I don't want to have some spoilers, but see you guys on our next episode of Water and Technicolor, because this is all the time that we have for today. Well, see you again, and let's get painting. See ya!